Okay, shalom everybody and Shavua Tov, and hoping everybody had a happy Purim. The goal of Purim is to be happy. And if you tap into the happiness on Purim, then it shines to the rest of the year. Reb Nachman teaches, Reb Noson elaborates this point, that the goal of Purim is to tap into this level of simcha that's accessible only on Purim. And once tapping into it, you draw to the rest of the year. It shines to the entire year. That's why it's so important to work on being besimcha. And if it didn't work out, fine, whatever you were able to do, try to be happy with it. But Baruch Hashem, we know that for Purim, you need to prepare in advance. The idea that we made such an emphasis to say Reb Noson's prayer 37, part 2, as a preparation to be happy on Purim, to do all the mitzvot as the best as we could do it. And I think everyone did their best. Megillah reading twice, Mishloach Manot, Matanot Evyonim, the Seudah, trying to get drunk and be happy and merry and everything. So that endures forever. It lasts forever, and it's meant to shine for the rest of the year. So, Rabbi Nachman teaches, just a side point, on this lesson from the Likutei Moharan part 2, lesson, I think it's 74, where he says that from Purim is made para. The reason why, one of the reasons given, and this is the one given by Rabbi Nachman, why Shabbat para is immediately after Purim, is because from the simcha of Purim, we activate the purification of para. Logically, para is in order to be pure, to do the Korban Pesach. And if we were in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, so we would have sprinkled on us the ashes of the red heifer, so we can be pure to make sure that we can do the Korban Pesach. Because Korban Pesach, everybody had to do it, as opposed to other sacrifices during the year. So you choose when you want to bring a sacrifice, and you have to make sure you're pure then. But Pesach, everybody has to eat it. It's a prohibition of karet if you don't eat the Korban Pesach, the men, right? Everyone has to eat it. So because of that, everyone had to make sure they were pure with the ashes of the sprinkling water ashes of the red heifer. But that was done in the month of Nisan. And here we're doing para even before the month of Nisan, right after Purim. So Rabbi Nachman teaches, it's funny, the letters are similar. Purim, para. Both have a par. Par in the Kabbalah is referring to the 280 dinim, par dinim, that are mitigated through Purim and the red heifer. So now, Reb Noson, he elaborates on this thing. He says the simcha of Purim is the simcha in Hashem, that you are just happy. You tap the goal and the product, the byproduct of Purim, is we can technically tap into such a high level of simcha where we're happy just about Hashem. We're not happy about what we have, all the goodnesses. We just let go, a nullification, and we're just happy about Hashem. Simchu b'Hashem. By doing this, we override all tiny difficulties. In other words, there's contradictions in life. There's things that make sense, and that's when it's easy to believe in Hashem and easy to do things. And the things that don't make sense, we have to turn to emunah in order to get them. The simcha of Purim is above that. It's above logic and rationale. What makes sense, what doesn't make sense, we don't care. I'm just connected with a feeling of joy in Hashem. That's the goal of Purim. And that's reflected in para. Because para is two opposites in one. A contradiction. It made pure, it rendered pure the impure, and rendered impure the pure, right? You know, if you remember the laws of the red heifer, the Kohanim involved in preparing the ashes, they had to be pure. And once they prepared the ashes made them impure. What in the world? You're doing something which is for purity, and it makes you impure. Just opposite. It should make you pure, but it made them impure. And then the one who had contact with a corpse, he had sprinkled upon him the ashes with the water mixture of the red heifer, and it made him pure. So the same item that made the Kohanim impure makes the person who touched the corpse pure. What's going on? You try to think about it, rationalize it, you can never rationalize it. It's something which the same thing makes one person pure, one person impure. So this is the byproduct, the result of Purim. That the joy of Purim activates that whether I understand or don't understand Hashem's ways, I'm always happy. I'm going with it. This is the gift of Purim, and this is why Shabbat Para is read right after Purim to show that the Simcha of Purim leads to this, being able to accept everything with emunah. More than this, Reb Noson says, that even when the Torah gives you permission to understand the logic and the rationale of why Hashem is guiding to do A, B, C, D, the mitzvot, if it's Yom Kippur, Tefillin, Tzitzit, where he gives you explanation. Like if you look at the book Sefer Chinuch, he explains the meaning behind all the mitzvot. Okay? But then you come to the Paraduma, there's no rationale, there's no logic. So Reb Noson says the goal of the Simcha of Purim is to activate the concept of the red heifer, where even where the Torah gives me permission and the ability to understand, when it comes to my doing the mitzvah, I choose to do it out of emunah, not out of because of I understand. I do it out of emunah. But the Torah tells you, explains it. So what? I learned the ideas, thank you. But the mitzvah is so great. Hashem is so great. And the Simcha of Purim taps me into such a high level of connection to God. Simcha and Hashem. Like the verse reads, Simchu b'Hashem v'gilu tzadikim. Right? Rejoice in Hashem and delight tzadikim. So when you have that, it doesn't make a difference whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense. An example of that we see when the Jews left Egypt. The Jews left Egypt and they went to the desert. They're going 600,000 men plus the women and children, over 1 million, and they're going to the desert. They made only matzot for 30 days. That's it. You don't think about what's going to be? What does Rashi say? The Jews said, Ein lanu ela divrei ben Amram. All we have is the word of the son of Amram, Moshe Rabbeinu. He's telling us to leave, we're leaving. How could it be the Jews then were on such a high? Because of the simcha. They tapped such a level of simcha on the night of Pesach that it brushed off, that then they illustrated, they showed, they activated such a high level of emunah. It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. You're not preparing provisions. How are you going to do? How are you going to this? No. We just listen to Moshe Rabbeinu says, and we go. And that's what even the verse praises the Jews on that. Lechtech acharai bamidbar. Hashem even praises the Jews. When you followed me in the desert, a place lo zerua. There's no food there. There's no food. And the Jews, we're talking about over 1 million people going like that, and it doesn't make sense. Where's your brain here? You have to be realistic. No realistic. It's such a high level of simcha. We're commanded to do something. We do it out of pure emunah. Okay? This is the gift of para. This is why para is right after Purim, because the gift of the simcha of Purim is this high level of emunah that even when it doesn't make sense, I'm in all the way. And kol sheken, all the more so when it does make sense, I still choose to do things out of emunah. For Hashem, that's the greatest thing. When a Jew treats the Torah as a chok is a statute that cannot be understood. Like Hashem, the Gemara says, chuka chakakti, gzera gazarti, ve'en lecha reshut leharher achareya. Hashem said, I made a statute, I made a decree, and you have no permission to start questioning. To be at that level is emunah. The problem is that we have intellect, we're born as human beings, we think. Hashem created mankind to think and use the brain, and yet Hashem wants you to bypass your brain and do things out of emunah. Yes, you learn, yes, you sharpen your mind, yes, you develop brain and understanding and everything, but when it comes to serving Hashem, He wants you, after perceiving intellect, to push it on the side and just to serve out of Hashem, out of emunah. When you do that, you can also handle with emunah when it doesn't make sense. When things are not going according to plan, when things are with setbacks and difficulties, you're able to hold on even then, Bezat Hashem. When you do that, so that's the idea of the paraduma. Whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense. Making pure the impure makes sense. Making impure the pure doesn't make sense, and yet I'm in the ball game. This is the mitzvah of the paraduma. This is what it does. And It's a big purity. It's a big level. This is the result of Purim. And Reb Noson says that this eventually leads to a higher level of simcha. When you reach that level of emunah, so then you can tap into being always happy. Those people that you see that whatever hits them in life, they're besimcha. They're taking. You flip out. How can he handle everything he's going through? All the difficulties he's going through, and he's still handling it, is because of this simcha and emuna process. Simcha, emuna to a higher level of simcha. Higher level of simcha, higher level of emuna, and it keeps on going like that, B'ezrat Hashem. So this is where we're holding now in the period of the year. Purim, Para. Para now prepares us to receive the light of Pesach, which is a light where we go beyond our capacity. It says even in the books that the infinite light of Hashem opens up on the night of Pesach. That's like the idea of the expanded intellect way above our capacity. That's what we experience on the night of Pesach. Prerequisite for that is Paraduma, B'ezrat Hashem. All right, that's just where we're holding in the year, in this period now. So it's a very exciting time. It's a gift that we had Shabbat Para. It's a gift that we had Purim. And to remember, even if your Purim wasn't as good as you expected it to be, you have to be happy with it. What Hashem gave you, I did the minimum mitzvah that I could do. I did them. I'm happy. I did a mitzvah of Purim, which connects me to the light of Mordechai, which allows me to reach the level of the Para Aduma. Baruch Hashem. All right. We want to continue this letter. We're stuck on a pasuk which is so profound, so profound. We have to realize Reb Noson, the same Reb Noson who's writing letters and he's talking to people, he also wrote such unbelievable discourses in his book, Likutei Halachot, such unbelievable prayers in his book, Likutei Tfilot, where many, many people will attest that these books talk to them more than anything else in the world, more than anybody else, any living rabbis. Yet, I feel Rav Noson is talking directly to me. And it goes to details of exactly what I'm going through and exactly what I needed to hear at the right time, okay? So that means, by Rav Noson, thanks to, of course, Rabbi Nachman, a big light is opened to us. And therefore, every detail that he writes is not by chance. Even when he's quoting verses in his letters. What's a letter? It's only a letter. What are you making a deal of a letter? But in the letters is contained profound depth. There's a Breslov oral tradition that Rav Noson once said, I received a teaching, an oral teaching from Rabbi Nachman, that if I were to reveal it to other people, they would lose their sense of free will. It would be such a powerful exposure, this idea, that people would lose their free will. So, but then what benefit would it be to reveal it? Because you wouldn't be serving Hashem on your own initiative because you have no free will. The whole thing about us is that we, from free will, are choosing to serve Hashem. Okay? So Rav Noson said, what would it help if I would reveal this teaching? First of all, you hear this. That means Rav Noson, he received this teaching. So where is he holding now? He lost his free will? That's what it seems like. Number two, the Breslover Hasidim say, nonetheless, Rav Noson hid this teaching, some say in one of his letters, and some say in one of his discourses in the Likutei Halachot. So it's our goal to try to find, we're like digging. We're digging. In Hebrew we say choresh. We're plowing in his letters to extract, first of all, we're extracting a lot of amazing teachings, amazing ideas come up from the verses he's quoting, from what he's saying. We're getting a lot of hashkafa on how to think like a Jew, how to be a Jew, how to perceive and perspective of things in life from a Breslover point of view, but a Jewish proper way to look at things. But number two, hoping we'll come across a jackpot, and B'ezrat Hashem, it'll really open up something deep in our hearts. B'ezrat Hashem. We're stuck on this verse already. This is the second class on this verse. Just to recap, we're in letter 443. Rav Noson is writing this letter to one of his closest disciples, Reb Ephraim, the son of Reb Naphtali, who Rav Noson claimed was one of his closest disciples. Of the 5 closest disciples, Rav Noson was this Reb Ephraim. He was, quote unquote, so to speak, well off. He was a jeweler. He sold jewelry. And he was a big supporter of Rav Noson, both supporting Rav Noson directly for his personal needs and for whatever Rav Noson was raising money for. Because everything Reb Noson was doing was to promote Rabbi Nachman's light for future generations and for that present generation. It's thanks to what they did back then, the unbelievable Mesirat Nefesh to get Rabbi Nachman's books and teachings and synagogues and followings to start, that we have this movement from over 200 years with no living Rebbe. The people outside make fun of Breslovers, they call them the dead Hasidim, because there's no Rebbe. There's no living Rebbe. Now Chabad is starting to be like us, but we're way advanced of them. We're over 200 years. So it's a movement, and it's growing and more people every day are connecting to Rabbi Nachman's teachings, and they say it's life-saving. Two people today, before this class, at the same time, simultaneously, I got two messages, the same idea. These teachings are saving our lives, they're changing our lives, and where would I be without Rabbi Nachman's teachings? People telling me, at the same time, I got two messages today. And it's true, these teachings, when you're exposed to them, you can't understand how people can live without them. How are people functioning without these things? And not only they're not looking at these things, they're sometimes afraid to approach because they have a different hashkafa. And that's also, we spoke about this last week in our class on the Parsha, that is a made difficult that people have as a test, is to come close to tzaddikim, true tzaddikim, because like Moshe Rabbeinu, they're outside of the encampment. After the sin of the golden calf, Moshe moved his tent, and it says whoever was seeking Hashem would go there. But once again, it's out of the tent. It's like you're in the Haredi neighborhood, a religious neighborhood, and the tzaddik, he's outdoors. Where's outdoors? By the Noachites, by the Baal Tshuvas, by people who are outside. That's where the tzaddik is shining his light. And someone who's in that fold of the frum world, let's say, in order now to connect to this, he has to make a step outside. Meaning what? To do things which are like, quote unquote, not non-acceptable, but like weird. What are you doing going to the forest at midnight to cry out to Hashem? Are you normal? Are you nuts? What are you doing these funny things? Leave Eretz Yisrael to go to Ukraine, to Oman. All these things which sound weird, and that other religious people, they use that. No, I don't do these things. I don't do it. My rabbi does it. So that's you put a block. Now, what's the sad thing is you lose. You're losing these teachings, which we see you guys don't have. Right? We compare. I'm sorry. What these life-saving teachings, I don't know how others are functioning without them. It's crazy. Because once you get connected to these teachings, you begin to see, I can't live without these things. I can't live without talking to Hashem every day. I can't live without dancing every day. I can't learn without learning halacha every day. I can't live without going to the mikveh as a man every day, or saying tikkun haklali. All these things which are by other people they consider maybe second, third, fourth level. They're not the main thing. The main thing is Torah. And by the way, mikveh, talk to Hashem, maybe who says Hashem's listening to you? You need a zchut that Hashem listens to your prayers. All these crazy things that keep people closed, and then they have terrible things happen in life, and they have nowhere to mitigate it. Like Reb Noson says in the letters many places, that this world, everybody goes through crazy things. I want to say it, but he says everyone suffers. But like the Zohar says, ilmale milcha laha ve'alma yachil misbal meriduta. Were it not for the salt, a person could not handle the bitterness of this world. What's the salt? The salt, the Zohar says, brit melach olam. The wording in the Torah about the sacrifices, you have to put salt on the sacrifice. Why? So Hashem says in the book Vayikra, Hashem made a brit melach olam. Hashem made a covenant with salt forever. Like Rashi says, Hashem made an agreement with the water, because salt is a byproduct of water. It's a chemical diffusion byproduct of water. Salt and water, they're connected. And Hashem made a condition when creating the world and the upper firmament, lower firmament, that the water would have a part in the sacrifices, not just animal and fire, but also water. That would be salt. Okay? So the Zohar says the wording used is brit, a covenant. Brit also refers to sexual purity, the Shmata Brit, which is by who? The Tzaddikim. So the Tzaddikim are called Brit Melach, covenant with salt. Because just like salt never goes rotten, so to a Tzaddik who has, like Yosef Tzaddik, has purity, he doesn't go rotten. Also in the grave, they don't rot, the body doesn't rot, they stay whole, the Tzaddikim, right? The more connected to purity, the more body stays whole in the grave, because there's no room for decaying stuff, because they're so pure and holy in this area of personal moral purity. Okay? So the Zohar says we're not for the salt, which is the tzaddikim. The Rabbi Nachman explains it in the Kutimah on lesson 23. Ilmale milcha, we're not for the salt, which is the tzaddikim, meaning the encouragement and light and merit, and teachings of the tzaddikim. The world cannot handle the bitterness of this world. People cannot handle the bitterness of the world. This world in itself is bitter. It's bitter. We see that. We see that this world is difficult. Everybody gets hit. Like Rabbeinu Tam says in Sefer Yashar, everybody in this world gets hit. Some people get hit at the beginning of their life, some people middle-age crisis, some people at the end. But everybody gets hit at the end with difficulties, okay? How do you bypass them? With the tzaddik. If you have the tzaddik in your life, he shines you brit melach. It's like salt. In other words, it mitigates the bitterness. It sweetens, even though it's salt, it sweetens the bitterness. Compared to bitterness, it's sweet, the salt, because it takes away the bitterness, and it gives person strength to hold on and to continue. We said, if you remember, that in this period of Reb Noson's life, 1844, his son, David Tzvi, who was a hunchback, was hit with multiple terrible, terrible things. He first lost his son, and then he lost his wife like a month later. She had a mouth infection, and she was pregnant already like 6 months, 7 months, whatever, or 8 months, whatever. So he lost his son, a cute boy. He lost his wife, who was pregnant. They couldn't save the baby. He lost all three in one makkah, plus he was a hunchback, okay? And Reb Noson writes about it in a few letters, because he's telling his supporters that I need help, to the funding for the burial and everything. It's not cheap. And in the letters, he continues with simcha afterwards. As much as he's broken with what happened to his son, because it hurts him, like he says, Reb Noson, grandchildren are like children. Bnei banim, harem kebanim. That's what the rabbis teach. And yet Reb Noson, he continues in the letters with such a positive attitude. How can you do that? You just were hit with something terrible, and it's mourning and it's painful, but you just go on not as if nothing happened, but you start fresh with a positive attitude. This is only to the tzaddikim. We're not wishing on anybody, chas v'shalom, to have to go through what Reb Noson went through. People already, what they're going through is already enough. But to realize that the tzaddikim are there. Why you need tzaddikim? Why it's not enough just buying an Art School Schottenstein Torah set and that's it, and I have my local shul and Daf Yomi and Rabbi, and that's it. Why you need a tzaddik? Because the difficulties of the life and the Torah given by status quo Judaism, it's not enough. What you're going through is up here. What's being offered by the world is down here. You need a tzaddik up here and even higher to help you to deal with what you're going through in life. That's the thing, okay? So, Rav Noson, I went off so much. His this point. Let's go back to where we wanted to start. This point in the letter, he's writing to Rabbi Chaim Ben Naftali about the greatness of supporting his teachings, the teachings of Rabbi Nachman. In particular, Rav Noson had just printed, again, towards the end of his life, he printed the first volume of his own commentary on Rabbi Nachman's teachings called Likutei Halachot, which is considered the magnum opus. One of the biggest books in Breslov is Rav Noson's 8-volume set of Likutei Halachot, where he talks about how to be a Jew. And he connects you to different places. When you learn it, you feel like you're going to a different dimension and coming back refreshed. That's the power of this book, Likutei Halachot. Okay? So Rav Noson now, at this point, he wants to tell his student, again, he praised him and thanks him for the greatness of supporting for the publishing of the books. And then he went into Chanukah's coming up, and I just want to go up a few lines, and we will go back to this verse that we mentioned last week, that there's so much on this verse. Okay, he says like this: Eineinu teliot el Hashem, our eyes are hanging to Hashem. Shlach orcha v'amitecha, please Hashem, send your light and truth, etc. We went into that last few classes ago. V'kove Hashem yachalifu koach, and may those who trust in Hashem have yachlifu, exchange strength. He brings this up because coming up, He's saying, may Hashem give someone strength to someone as weary as me. I want to skip a few lines because there's another verse coming up. I want to go past the next verse just to show you what Reb Noson is going to say. Hashem should give me strength. להתחיל ולגמור כל ימינו מלאכת שמיים זכות הרבים כזה. To begin and finish all my days of my life, the work of heaven, this merit for generations to come of printing and publishing these books, these teachings. And Hashem, He knows my intent, and definitely I'm not making a mistake at all in that I want to have these books printed. And not just saying it's so difficult, just stop. He kept on going even though there was tremendous amount of obstacles in doing this. But he says, look, kashal koach hasabal, but now the strength of the burden, the one who's carrying the burden, I can't handle it anymore. Now it's weakened. And he says like this, he's 64 years old, Reb Noson, when he's saying this. V'mei zikna v'seva memashmeshim ubaim. And now the days of old and being an elder and weak are coming upon me very soon. As if to say he's not there yet. He's 64 years old. Reb Noson sees himself as being young. I want to go into this. Because look at this verse. The verse that Reb Noson quoted, there's a very powerful midrash, I think from Tanad ve'Eliyahu, on this verse. Okay? Let's see the verse again, because there's a few insights we want to go into this verse today. The verse again is from Isaiah chapter 40. It's the last verse of this chapter 40, which talks about Hashem's greatness and the strength of Hashem. The last verse, verse 31 of this chapter 40, reads like this. And we saw the quotation from Reb Noson's letter, the beginning of the verse. V'kovei Hashem yachalifu koach. Those who, kovei tikva, who have hope in Hashem, will have exchanged strength. Meaning, if they're weak, they'll be made strong. Yachlifu koach. In other words, they'll be re-energized, renewed. Ya'alu ever kanesharim. They will sprout a limb like the eagles. We went into this last class from Rav Sadia Gaon, of the special bird which is like the phoenix. And believe it or not, in the Zohar and other places in the Midrash, there's a different opinion that it's a bird that lives 1,000 years. A type of eagle, a type of phoenix that lives 1,000 years, and every 100 years it gets old and weak, and it goes up to the sun, it burns most of its body until like nothing's left of its body, and then it falls, but from the part that falls into the sea or wherever, it starts sprouting a new entity from that part of its body. It's something crazy that the Zohar says. 1,000 years, it's a type of a phoenix. 100 years. We saw Rav Sadia's commentary that it's a 100-year bird, a phoenix, and every 10 years, and then finally at 100 years, it flies into the sun and burns totally. Okay, but that type of bird has limbs that renew it, and the commentaries say this phoenix, this type of eagle, is so special that as it gets older, it gets younger. There's something phenomenal. It's a type of bird that it gets older, it gets better. It's not like weaker and it gets better. Ya'aluk ever kanesharim, and then the verse says two things. Yarutsu, the people who hope in Hashem, will run, velo yiga'u. They'll run and they won't become exhausted. Yelchu, they walk, velo yu'afu, and they won't become tired. You may ask, if you say they'll run and they won't get exhausted, so why do you have to also say the second part, they'll walk and they won't get tired? Obviously, if they can run and they won't get exhausted, all the more so that if they walk, they won't get tired. We're gonna try to answer that question. First, let's take a look at this Tanad ve'Eliyahu, which helps to understand Rav Noson's statement coming up. Okay, Rav Noson, the Tanad ve'Eliyahu says like this. Here we go. So he says like this. The Tanad there says a person can't boast about anything from the physical world because nothing is lasting. So then the Tanad Eliyahu Navi, he asks, so therefore, with what can a person be singing and be happy and praising about in this world? Yitalel bechitra shel Torah. He can sing Hallel to Hashem with the crown of the Torah. שהיא מעשרת אותו ונותנת לו חיים בעולם הזה ולעולם הבא. Because the Torah gives wealth to a person and gives him life in this world and the next. It doesn't abandon a person. You don't see people who died because they were learning Torah. Always Hashem works it out for them. How? I can't explain it. But these people who dedicate their lives to Torah study and Torah observance, Hashem protects them. They have like a special halo around them, protecting them, coming from the Torah, the crown of the Torah. The Keter. Eze osher she'notenet lo. Which wealth does the Torah give to a person? Zocher shenotnin bo koach shelo yibatel leolam. The Torah gives a person a type of strength that he will never become nullified. In other words, he will never just collapse and be kaput. Shene'emar, because like it says, v'kove Hashem yachalifu koach v'chule yanchu v'lo ya'afu. So the strength, they will have exchange strength. They will walk and they won't be expired. So I wish I brought the actual book here. Sorry, it's a Gemara in Kiddushin. I got the wrong. It's good we read this, but what I wanted to show was in the Gemara in Kiddushin, page 82. Page 82, it says like this. This is the point we wanted to really get to. We mentioned what we Tanad Veliel, but now look what the Gemara says. Rabbi Nehorai Omer. Rabbi Nehorai says, Maniach ani kol umanut sheba'olam ve'eni melamedet b'ni ela Torah. Rabbi Nehorai says, I leave aside any workmanship, any skills of work in this world, and I only will teach my son Torah. Kishadam bali de choli, or de zikna, or de yisurin, because when a person comes to be sick, God forbid, or he's old and he has to retire, or to suffering, and he can't do the work that he invested his whole life with. He can't go to the work. He can't go to the shop. He can't do the work that he invested in. So if he's like that, he dies from starvation. Okay, today they have pension plans, they have welfare, but he's saying it's a more difficult way to live. Torah enaken, but as someone who invests in Torah, that's not the case. Ela mishamarto mikol ra. The Torah protects a person from all evil when he's young and also gives him a good end and hope when he's old. And look at this. The Benaruto, when a person is young, Ma'omer, what does the verse say regarding someone who's young? That the Torah protects him from evil and allows him to be renewed. This verse, V'kovei Hashem yachalifu koach. Those who hope in Hashem, they'll have exchange strength. So even though he's young and he may run out of strength, because how am I going to make it and all the difficulties, the Torah gives him, those who hope in Hashem, because the purpose of the Torah is to teach you to hope in Hashem. The goal of Gemara and Mishnah and Midrash and Zohar and Shulchan Aruch and everything, and Yaakov, whatever, every area of the Torah is to teach you, to train you that there's a God in the world, and you have to put your trust in Him. That's the idea of learning all the details of Sukkah and Yibum and Kashrut and Yom Kippur and all the laws, monetary laws. Everything is to remind you that there's a God in the world. Okay, so what? Put your trust in Him. Put your hope in Him. Okay? So this is all the Torah is like in this one verse. Those who hope in Hashem, which is those who trust in Hashem by investing in Torah study, Yachalifu koch, they get renewed energy, okay? Beziknuto ma'u omer, and when he's old, what does he say? Another verse. What we say Friday night in Kabbalah Shabbat. Od yenuvun beseva. It's from Tehillim, chapter 92. Od yenuvun beseva. They will be fruit. They will yaniv. There'll be like a fruit, a produce when they're old. Beseva. While they're old, there's still yaniv. There's like a crop coming out. Okay, so what's interesting is that the Gemara brought the verse for those who are young that they will have renewed strength. Okay, Reb Noson, he's 64 years old in this letter, and he's saying the days of old are coming, and he's 64. He sees himself as young, as a na'ar. Reb Noson saw himself as a na'ar. Because he's saying, I'm 64, and the days of old are coming. The memashishim lavo. He doesn't say they've arrived already. He said, memashmishim ubayim. I'm not old yet. He passed away a year later. He passed away at age of 65. But he said the days of old are coming. That means Reb Noson is a prime example of someone who's always young. And it's true, in the introduction to the letters, the Cherner Rav writes that this man was not normal. He was always doing things. Even until he passed away, he was still writing every day Chidushim. He was dying from, what was the sickness he had? I forgot the word, not Crohn's, colitis. He died from colitis, Reb Noson. He had a colitis infection in his stomach, and he was weak. And on the last day of his passing, he was able to write something, and then he couldn't write. So I have so many insights on the Hanukkah candles, because he passed away right after Hanukkah, and on the Shabbos candles, he passed away on a Friday. They were preparing the candles for Shabbos, but I have no more strength to write. He was writing until the end, and he was there. He was focused, and he was so into things. So he was an example that the Torah is renewing. Okay? This is something fascinating. I have to say this point. That in the world, people get older. People get older, and you see people when they're younger, like these like bodybuilders, there's this and that, and then they're older, like slobby, and that is nothing to be impressed about. And like you see that they felt like they lost something, or someone like is in a walker and everything. People who are in the Torah, it's hard to believe, but this is the truth. People in the Torah, it's just the opposite. When they're young, they were nerds, they had problems with their eyesight, or all these crazy things. And things that, people say, if you don't take care of it now, it's going to get worse. And they didn't take care of it because they didn't know how to take care of it. These people, the Torah opens up for them vistas of just things getting better. So for example, you have a guy who's young, and he's someone who wants to learn Torah, wants to live a life of Torah. But he's suffering from being overweight, and he has pains over here, and flat-footedness, and this, and he never succeeded in opening a business, and this and that. But this person invested in the Torah shines to such a person openings to heal this, to heal that, to begin to lose weight, to work on himself, to be healthy. It's something crazy, you can't understand it. But the people who invested in Torah, by doing so, in the eyes of the world, they were now behind. You're such a schlep. You're walking like you're bent, and you're like, look at you. You're nothing to be impressed about. These people, the Torah helps them so much that, and also you're poor. What are you gonna do? They end up being able to live properly, healthy, to marry their kids, and you see you see them getting better and better and better. Yachlifu koach. Those who turn in Hashem, and they have difficulties, but they invested time in davening about it their whole life. It's true, I'm a nerd. Okay, I'm a loser. Okay, I lack self-confidence. Okay, all these things. Okay, but I invested in Torah. The Torah shines for such a person to get out. Okay, it switches and brings him in a very good place. Even though in general, they say the people who are like nerdy and stuff when they were teenagers to become like big CEOs and lawyers and everything, but they're still far from where they want to get, because if their goal was only worldly matters and that's it, so they're stuck. Whereas if such people also invest in the Torah, especially the Torah of Rabbi Nachman, is so powerful that there's no dead end. Okay? Person, diabetes. Okay? So the diabetes, no cure. Such a guy finds people who give a cure, or this or that. Cancer, there's a cure. Yeah, but this, that. But I found it. How come I found it? Because I'm investing in the Torah. So the Torah shines the right address to the person. That's what this verse is saying. It's saying a few things. Kove, like what it said in Tanat ve'Eliyahu, the Torah gives a person such a high level of hope and energy. Again, when you're learning the Torah properly. Okay? If you're not learning the Torah properly, so it's a big no. It can be like the Gemara says, Lo zacha nasa samavet. It becomes an elixir, a potion of death. You can learn the Torah the wrong way, and the Torah can bring you down. How do I know if I'm learning the Torah the right way? I don't. That's why I need tzaddikim. The tzaddikim, they give you the right lens, the 3D lens, to be able to look at the Torah and learn the Torah in the right way, so that the Torah I'm learning is uplifting me. Not just, okay, I'm studying a book and I did a siyum in Masechet, okay, next, and the person doesn't change. I'm changing from the Torah I'm learning. I'm learning a Gemara, it has nothing to do with me, but I'm so connected with emunah to the words of the Torah, through the lens of the tzaddikim, it changes my life. Okay? It's brand new. So that's what this verse is saying. And Reb Noson is an example. He's saying, the Gemara says in Kiddushin, that's on the young people. The young people, what does it say? This verse. That those who have hope in Hashem, yachlifu koach, they don't get old, they stay young. They stay young. Reb Noson 64, and he's saying this verse, Kove Hashem yachlifu koach. Okay? That's one thing I wanted to bring up. Second thing, a bit deeper. Okay? And we'll try to finish with this. Reb Noson, in this letter, is thanking Rav Ephraim for helping funding his book, Likutei Halachot, which, like we said, before he passed away, a year and a half before he passed away, he was able to finally print the Likutei Halachot first volume. The rest was printed posthumously after Rav Noson passed away. For Rav Noson, this was a big, big stepping stone. Now notice, the name of the book, he called it Likutei Halachot, which on a simple level, why is it called Likutei Halachot? Because it's collected laws. Why did he call it collected laws? Because Rabbi Nachman instructed him to learn the code of Jewish law, Halacha Shulchan Aruch, and to use the Likutei Moran to develop insights on the moral, spiritual meaning and message behind the Tefillin, Yom Kippur, based on the lessons of Likutei Moran. That's how powerful it is, okay? So that's why on a simple level it's called Halacha. On a deeper level, Rabbi Nachman talks about the term halacha in one of his most amazing lessons, lesson number 6. He says a person has to be a baki b'halacha, an expert in halacha. What does it mean, expert in halacha? He translates it as an expert in walking. You have to know how to walk life, walk the walk of life, right? Is he going to do the walk the talk the walk? You got to know how to walk the walk of life. What's the walk of life? That there's a lot of ups and downs in life, and you keep on walking. You have to be a baki beratzo, baki b'shov, baki in going faster, advancing, and an expert in knowing how to go backwards. But you're always walking, okay? He doesn't say to run, he says to walk. All Rav Noson's book teaches a person how to be a Jew, how to handle ups and downs, difficulties, setbacks. Things are going amazing, to know how to walk with it. He doesn't say to run. He says to walk. You would think, if you have a green light, he should have called it Likutei Ritzot, the collection of running. Because in Judaism we run. No, we don't run in Judaism. Even though, ideally, logically, someone who came from a very bad past and impurity, he should run like he's running from fire to go to do tshuva, to come back to Hashem. But the way of Judaism is, you got to walk. You can't run. You have to walk. So Rav Noson called this book, this fundamental book of Judaism, Likutei Halachot, which is the collected teachings on how to walk the walk of life, how to walk, okay? We see by Rav Noson, where did he run? After he passed away. The day he passed away in Breslov was on a Friday. His closest friend, Rav Naftali Weinberg, another student of Rabbi Nachman, the second closest student of Rabbi Nachman, he lived in Uman. Uman from Breslov is today 2.5 hour drive. It's far. Okay, so back then it was like a half a day journey by buggy, by car, by wagon, by horse. Okay, so he passed to Reb Noson right before Shabbos on Friday afternoon in 1844 on the 10th of Tevet. Rav Naftali, Shabbos morning, he told over the Hasidim in Uman the following dream that he had. He had a dream that he saw Rav Noson running. He asked him, Rav Noson, where are you running to? Ani, and it's a song, they made a song, Yisrael Dagan made a song. Ani ratz yashar le Rabbeinu, I'm running straight to Rabbeinu. Me, I'm running straight to Rabbeinu, okay? So Rav Noson was running, and Rav Naftali understood, Rav Noson passed away. Through the dream, he understood that Rav Noson passed away. Why did he understand that? One of the things we can understand, Rav Noson's whole thing was balance. Of all the followers of Rabbi Nachman, Rav Noson was the most balanced student. He was able to talk to someone, reveal the most deepest secrets of the Torah, and yet be able to be balanced, to go back to davening and be a simple Jew, and to say Shacharit, and say Tehillim, and to eat like a normal person. He was able to, on one hand, connect to high ideas, but it wouldn't throw him off with too much light. He was able to be balanced, to walk, to know how to walk slowly, not to run, to walk. So Rav Naftali understood if he's saying he's running to the Rebbe. So first of all, running to the Rebbe, Rebbe Nachman passed away already, so he's running to be Rebbe Nachman. But he could have said, I'm walking to the Rebbe, I'm running to the Rebbe. Because Ritza is now after passing, now Rav Noson has the green light to run. Walking was in this world, okay? So the verse reads, again, Kove Hashem, Yachalifu Koach, right? Those who hope in Hashem will have renewed strength. Ya'alu ever kanesharim. Okay, I just have to say one more thing. The Zohar says, the eagle on the chariot of Yecheskel. Yecheskel had a vision of the chariot, of 4 creatures, 4 species on the chariot, divine chariot. The eagle, the lion, okay, the shor, the bull, some say the kruvim, and the man, the image of Yaakov, okay? So the nesher, the Zohar says, corresponds to Eliyahu Navi, and some say the angel Metat. The angel Metat, we don't say his name, and or Eliyahu Navi are responsible for the resurrection of the dead, okay? So it fits in now. Those who hope in Hashem will have renewed strength, and they will have like a limb grown like the eagles, because the eagles who are, some say Eliyahu Navi, some say the angel Metat, they're responsible for resurrection, which is this angel, this eagle called the phoenix. It's able to have a resurrection. It's almost dead, and it becomes newer and newer and newer. So for a person to have renewed strength from the Torah, it's coming from the strength of Eliyahu Navi and the angel Metat, which causes the resurrection of the dead. Okay? So now the verse goes on. Yarutzu velo yigau. We asked, you say running, and they won't get tired, they won't get exhausted. Number 2, they'll walk velo yafu, and they'll walk and they won't become tired. So we see here the verse itself divides twice. 2 things. There's the running and there's the walking. Here Rav Noson in this verse is hinting to his Likutei Halachot. That's why he brought this verse down. He brought this verse because it continues, Yelchu, the idea of Likutei Halachot, that's his book, Velo Yafu. Those who learn Likutei Halachot, they won't get tired. And now the preparation is for the future. Like Reb Noson passed away, he was able to run. Me, I'm running, because most people, unfortunately, when they die, they don't have the merit to run. There's the punishment of what's called the world of vanity, Olam HaTohu, where a person doesn't know he's dead. He thinks he's still alive. It can go on for 20 years, 30 years, 500 years. There are cases of people who are living in a limbo, like a matrix. They think they're still alive and they're really dead. The evil does that because it sucks its nourishment from the person so long as he doesn't know that he's dead and he doesn't continue his tikkun. So in that limbo phase, the evil tries to nourish off energy off the person, okay? So not everybody merits when they die to run to the address, the right address. We think, oh, it's easy, Gehinam, Gan Eden. You don't know. Okay, we do for our parents 11 months, some do, like Sephardim, they do a break of 1 week and then 12 months, because as the wicked, they suffer 12 months in Gehinam. So our parents, we don't hold them by being wicked. So we do, Ashkenazim do 11 months Kaddish, and Sephardim do 11 months, stop a week, and then continue to the 12 months, because it's a benefit for the child to say Kaddish as much as possible for the parent in those 12 months, okay? That's given standard. But what if it's not standard? What if Chas Shalom, the parent was taken to the world of vanity? You don't know, okay? It's scary. So you need a zchut to run. This verse is teaching you, if now you invest in the Torah, so you have super duper chances, at the Torah of the Tzaddikim especially, that you will run, velo yigau, you won't be exhausted, you run. You won't be exhausted from the punishments of after death, where there's delays and delays and delays, if it's the world of vanity, if it's the 12 months in Gehinam. Yarutzu, you'll run to the right address. So like Rav Noson, he ran to the Rebbe. I'm just connecting to Rav Noson's life. Velo yigau, and yelchu in the lifetime, Likutei Halachot. So I can go on and on and on and on in this, but to say that Likutei Halachot is such a powerful book, the Breslovers make a big deal to learn from it every day. They say, like it says in the davening, Kol hashoneh halachot b'chol yom muftach lo shu ben olam haba. Whoever learns halach every day is guaranteed a portion of the world to come. The Breslovers would say this also applies to Kol hashoneh likutei halachot b'chol yom. Everyone who learns likutei halachot every day. The power of this book is that it gives you renewed energy. And number 2, gives you the power that you will run after you die and not be stuck in the world of vanity. Just we'll stop here. We should be zoche. We spoke about many ideas. We should be zoche to be renewed, refreshed, and to thank Hashem that we don't oppose Breslov. We respect and love and admire and cherish these teachings with open arms. And we do hope those who put their trust in these teachings put their trust in Hashem. And through that, Bezat Hashem, to make it through this world, Bezat Hashem. All right. Thank you for joining. If you want to reach out to say hello, feedback, questions, commentaries, please reach out to me. WhatsApp only, private message only on WhatsApp. Number is +1 732 800 1863 732 800 1863. Shalom, shalom. Have an amazing week.